I mean, listen. If whoever is paying this guy, King Salman or King Mohammed bin Salman, I know you're not like the greatest guy, but if you are listening right now, we have a podcast. We could like do like we could do like a weekly episode, and we could just like talk about whatever you want us to talk about. And then we could sign the thing. We don't have to come to Saudi Arabia. Like, we'll just give you the content, but you would own it, you know? And then we can talk about the contract. Maybe like 100, that would work. but yeah. Hey, hit us up, man. Hit us up. I know you are watching us.
If he paid me 100, he if he can pay us $100, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, like, come on, we got something. Huh? Yeah. Oh man, the CIA will be knocking on your door the next day. Again, we need to stop. We need to stop.
I will be right here.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fabish Mark podcast. I think this is the third time I'm having Ken on. So yeah, I think you are officially the most recurring episode guest. Sorry, my brain is in shambles. But yeah, I think now you're the most appearing guest. So I have like this imaginary trophy for you.
Let's go.
So, yeah. So that's going to be.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for
going to
having
be
me on
awesome.
again. I'm very honored every time I got to be on.
Yeah, man. So at the moment,
it's gonna
I'm
be
like
great.
trying to build my podcast mainly based on YouTube, and I've kind of been lazy about it because of school and stuff, and but I really enjoy it because it's such a challenge, But I kind of see what you're doing,
Yeah.
with your podcast, and it's amazing. It's amazing. If you are watching this, please go and give this man a listen. Like, I think the pace at which you're going, I just watched that. I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy is like killing it. Can you imagine, like, at one point you just had one episode, and now like you're like, well, how many episodes have you done now?
Almost 60.
Wow. Yeah,
It's
that is pretty cool.
crazy.
Man, 60. I think I think if you combine my audio plus video, I'm like, what, like 40, 35 something, but that is insane that you've done 60 episodes. That's crazy. That's awesome, man.
It's
Congratulations. And are they
I
all
I thank you. Yeah, I looked at it. I looked at it the other day, and I was like, "How in the world is it almost 60 already?" It just flew by, but it's
yeah,
been so cool
it's
doing it.
crazy. Are they all guests?
Not all of them. I want to say there's like 5 or 6 that are
Okay.
solos. Just kind of reflecting on my athletic career and my
Yeah.
life. But yeah, usually I usually do have a guest on.
That's cool. That's cool. Wow. Cause I was like, man, like you're. I think I've not seen in like any podcast of any magnitude the level of guest acquisition like you do. That's just like that's like a skill set you have that most people don't have. Cause like I'm always like, how is he like lining up these people? Cause I can do that, right? But I'm just so lazy because I have to do everything online. But I'm always like, oh my goodness, this guy is killing it. So yeah, I think one day,
Yeah,
um,
it's yeah, I was just gonna say it's so weird because like I don't know either how it's happening because I'm just literally I DM people, follow them on Twitter or Instagram, and they literally just they follow me back and say they want to come on the show, and it's been so weird and like I don't know. I honestly have no idea how it happens, but you don't see all the no's I get or all the non responses that I get.
that's
So there's that too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's always the other part of podcasting. But man, I will say, I don't know what episode I was listening to, but like there's one I listened to and I was like, my goodness. So like the way sometimes you can listen to a podcast and like zone out and back in. There's one you did like just a few weeks ago. I can't remember who the guest was, but the whole time I was like, until it ended, I was like, is it over? Ken, come on, continue. It was like it's just like back and forth, back and forth. I was like, come on, but yeah. I will have to look for whatever episode. When I edit my YouTube, I'll put it down there because that was a legit good episode.
Appreciate it.
But I wanted to ask you, um, what? So, how is marriage life going right now?
It's amazing. It is the best thing that I've ever done in this life. I can't even imagine, or I can't even explain just everything that's so good about it. Like just doing life. I mean, literally with your best friend. Like
Mm,
God made this person for you, and it's so awesome. Just
yeah.
doing life with her. Just the little small things like going to the grocery store. Like it's something that I have never experienced, and it's the rest of my life. So it's so cool. It's so awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Um, any advice? I'm coming up there at some point. So, any advice?
Any advice? I would say, they always tell you before you get married that you always say that she's right. And that is usually true. That is pretty much always true. Uh, even though like I never want to admit it. I never do want to admit it, but she's really always right. And I would just
That's
say you
awesome.
be patient because she's definitely gonna be patient with you. And it's it's just, it's
Mm-hmm.
just one of those things where you definitely learn being married.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I think oh man, the she's right thing. That's one that most people don't get. I think I'll have to be like, all right, well, I'll have to like put a T-shirt just to remember. But that's pretty cool.
Yes,
um,
yes.
I always think, do you if somebody ever asks you like, Ken, introduce yourself, like, my name is Ken Burke. I have a podcast and I have a wife. Have you ever done that?
No, I hardly ever tell anybody that I do a podcast. And when they find out, they're like, "What?
That's
You
so
do a
interesting.
podcast?" Like there's no way.
That's
And yeah, I mean,
crazy.
I tell people I'm married. I tell people I'm married because that's like that should be the
Yeah,
first thing that people know about me, I think.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I usually tell people like a month in of, knowing them that I do a podcast because I don't know, it's never a topic of conversation, I think.
Yeah. It's funny because speaking of marriage, I see this is what single people do. I was playing Tetris, listening to Love is Blind, and arguing with someone on Reddit. So that's what I was doing at 3 a.m. Okay. so, so um so I was playing Tetris and the computer was beating me, right? And then I was watching Love is Blind, which is this show that have you seen Love is Blind?
I've seen a couple episodes, yeah.
Yeah, every time I watch the episodes, I'm like, I know you guys are lying to each other, but let's just go on with this. This is fine. Let's just go on with this. And then in Reddit, the guy in Reddit was like, we were arguing because he's a moderator, and I had spammed their account, so they were banning me, and so we were going back and forth arguing, and so he was like, one more chance that you are out. And I'm like, you're just a moderator. Like, come on. Why do you have to be so mean? So it was like this back and forth. And then I go, well, and he goes, if you try to spam, because I just love picking fights with them. So he goes, if you try to spam our account one more time, you'll be banned from Reddit. And I'm like, no, I just create another account and then spam you guys. And he got so mad. And then he goes, he goes, he goes, this I'm gonna show you the worst night of your life. And I'm like, buddy, you have to be living in the best place for this to be the worst night of my life, you know? So, so then he
What is
banned me
that?
completely. Um it's like so what was happening is I am a Man U fan, and I went to a Liverpool channel, but I sent my
Oh,
YouTube link into a Liverpool fan channel, and I was immediately banned. And then I went back and resent it, and so he kept banning me, and I would come back with another account, and so finally he was like, "I'm gonna show you the worst night of your life," and I'm like, "This is so far from the worst night of my life," but yeah, so that's man, that's where most single people are, man. So yeah,
You-
um,
we've all been
but
there. We
like
have all been there. I swear.
yeah, yeah, but like just pivoting a little bit to like a more serious issue. Which city are you in?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, okay. Wait, which city was it that George Floyd died in? What's that?
George Floyd. Oh man, I think that was Milwaukee. I don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty
Oh,
sure it was Milwaukee.
let
I
me look
think it
it
was
up
a northern
because
city, northern America city,
I kept. Oh, okay, okay. Um, let me see.
or it could have been Minneapolis.
Uh, Oh, Minneapolis. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Minneapolis. Okay,
I
okay.
mean, it was. Yep,
Um,
yep.
well, yeah, speaking of tragedy, I have been heartbroken the last few weeks because of the shootings that have been happening in the
Mm,
U.S. and being somebody from outside, like it's one of those things that you almost wonder when one happens. You wonder what
mm,
the next person is thinking about at that moment, because
yeah,
when there was that shooting, I don't know where it was, but there was a shooting in some place somewhere in Texas, I believe, like a year ago. Yeah, I think it was a year ago,
yeah,
and it was like this young
yep,
guy from, I don't know what his name was, but um anyway, when that happened, I kept thinking, I'm pretty sure there's like somebody who is gonna do this again in the future, watching this right now. And I wonder what they're thinking,
yep,
And right now they have the choice to not do that, but they're still gonna do it. And so, being somebody from outside, I'm just curious a little bit because I've not been in the States for a while, and you know the gun thing is and the shooting thing is it's such a complex issue that even I don't understand, but like you live in the States, right? And I hear a lot of like talks about, oh, it's not the gun, it's the person, oh, it's not the person, it's the gun. And living in a country that we don't have guns, the idea that even those kind of conversations exist scare me so much, so
mm,
like for you as a person who lives in the US, right? Like what do you think about the whole thing? Because I think it's one of those things. Sadly, I think if America was to ever fall, I think this is one of the problems that will lead to the fall of such a nation, because
mm,
um it just seems like there is two parties and they can never agree on this issue, and as long as those two parties hold much power in a place, one of them is gonna give in, and
mm.
like it's crazy, and yeah. So what do you think about the whole issue?
It's definitely such a complex issue, like you said, and it's just every time you see something like that, it's so heartbreaking because, I mean, I think it's just like what you just said. Like, this is probably going to happen again. Like, and you don't know where, you don't know when, but it's probably going to happen unless somebody does something about it. You know what I mean? And obviously, I don't know
Yeah,
the answer. I don't know if we should ban guns. Like maybe we should. I don't know. Um, Obviously, they're good for self protection, but at this point,
yeah,
you can't use that excuse when there's so many the little children dying because of people
yeah,
misusing a gun, and it's
yeah,
so hard to you see that on the news and you're just like, why, like why in the world is this happening? And I think
yeah,
going back to something you mentioned is you know we have these two parties that they can never agree, and it's so difficult to be in this country when literally anybody with power is going to have is going to create such a division just because of what side they're on. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
so hard to be in this country right now. Obviously, I love being here. I love, like, I've lived here my entire life, but at the same time,
Yeah.
change has to happen. And obviously, I'm just a
Mm-hmm.
20 something year old in Indianapolis that doesn't really, I don't have any power. But yeah, I would say
Mm-hmm.
something has to change, and I think the first thing would be to control guns in some way, like have extensive
Yeah.
background checks, have um, uh, take some types of guns off the market. I don't know, but it's such a crazy
Yeah.
topic. But I am really interested to see, from your perspective, being, out from the outside looking in, what's your perspective of the situation?
First of all, it's scary, very scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have, like this is even unimaginable to speak about, but I have family in the US and I have friends who have kids who go to the US and they all go to school,
Mm,
and y- it's never close to you until it is, and
yeah.
so it scares me so much because when I think of my future, I'm sure I'll be in the US at some point, and if I ever have family there, I'm pretty sure that still is going to be there. Like, I don't think it's a problem that's going to go away in like 50
Mm,
years, so like just the idea of
yeah.
having kids go to school, it's scary. And so like living in Kenya, I live in a place where life is hard in many ways and people suffer, and they struggle for food and stuff like that. But one thing we don't have is our kids always come back home, all of them, at least,
Mm,
and like that is something that when I think about that, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, there's this really cool place which for some reason has just picked schools as the main target of whatever message they have of violence. Schools is the main place. Like, listen, I know how terrible it is, but there's other institutions that I would feel a little bit like, wow, okay, they had that place, but still it's terrible. But I mean, schools, like that's just like,
yeah.
I don't know, like, I don't know why it's schools, but like the whole idea of guns to begin with, because I live in a nation that doesn't have them. Um, I understand the thing of self protection, and when somebody else has a gun, you also have to have one, because bringing a knife to a gunfight is like not gonna
Yeah.
work. But also at the
Yeah.
same time, I was just reading about it, and I found out that the whole reason the guns were implemented was to ever stop to stop the government if they ever turn on the people. But then you think about the American
Mm,
military, and I'm like, however much the guns are there, the military is so powerful that they could just, I don't think like people.
exactly.
First of all, like, if you think about it, like, if there was like an uprising, I don't think everyone would just come together to begin with. The whole idea of the
Yeah.
people who stand up against the government is so flawed, because to me, I'm like, first of all, are the people even united to begin with? No. Like, every single person has like an opinion,
Yeah.
and imagine if the government has turned against the people and they want to come together to attack the government, it will take forever, because they will have to go through their social ideas and opinions and come to an agreement. They would have to go through their, health, and there's just so many things that I think America is so divided against, that if the government was ever to turn against the people, it will take a long time. Listen, we, East Africa and Africa as a general, we had a time where the British colonized Africa, right? And the way
Mm,
they did it was they would come to different tribes, and then they knew the tribes would never had so many differences that they would never come together. They would never unite. Then they would give guns to one tribe and then leave the other ones with spears. These tribes would fight and then weaken, and then they would come in and take over. That's kind of what's happening in America. You guys don't have tribes, but you kind of do have tribes because of just how different it is. And so when I asked somebody why there's guns in the first place, they were like, the main reason was for people to stand up against the government. I was like, think about that
mm,
straight. Like, I don't think that's going to happen anyway, because people just at this moment, the Americans at this moment are so divided anyway that if they were ever to stand up against the government, it would be like a miracle, you know. And you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's always like situations where you're like, yeah, you know, this can happen, but I just can't see that happening. Too, when there's an uprising, there's always people who come together and create their own leaderships, and so it will kind of like, you know, we always watch these post-apocalyptic movies where a few people become leaders and then they lead each other. I think that's kind of what happens, you know.
Mm.
So the whole idea of guns versus the government doesn't make sense, but I also can't see a place where America exists without guns, you know, because
Mm.
I honestly do feel like it's something in the, like, inside, deeply rooted in people. It has nothing to do with protection. I think it's just a belief inside, like, an American, that this thing is something I can't live without, you know. So like like
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, ah, yeah, let's get rid of it, you know. But I think it's such a deep rooted thing in an American mindset that I don't think you can just take that away, you know. And
Mm.
so those two are not options, because one, the people themselves, they will, you know, schools will be shut down to the bare, you know, like, I don't know, to whatever. But there's it's just like a part of them, like, they'll be like, we understand schools are being shut, but we just can't, we'll find whatever reason to defend this, you know. And
Mm.
so that's how I see it from outside. And so, like, you know, I was asking somebody, what if the government found a way, because I'm pretty sure the American government has an idea, what if they found a way to, like, put trackers on these guns so that they know how many guns are in America? And that's another thing, like, you know, you can't, I think there's so many guns in America that the government can't recover all of them. And so, like, putting some
Yeah.
sort of, like, system to where they know what gun is where, which I think they do already have. But yeah, it's one of those situations which I kind of came to realize was one of those things that I don't think people will ever come to agree on. And the pace at which kids are dying is, like, going higher. And so
Mm.
it's either going to reach a boiling point, or it's going to become something that people are okay with and just live with, which is, you know, it's crazy, you know. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like I don't know, I don't know where that's gonna lead, but it's a very sad thing. I just hope, I just wish, you know, adults would face adults with guns, you know, not face kids who are
Yep.
learning in school who have no, you know, it's, first of all, it's not fair. I don't know, but you know, there's a whole lot of stories about, like, mental health and all that. But the main thing, though, is
Yep.
how do we solve this problem? And nobody wants to really talk about that. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, it. America has had this false notion in the past that we're number one, and I think now we're starting to see like we're not. We are flawed, just like every other country in this world, and we're so divided over something that should not divide us, like some silly, really silly things, that there should not be a debate. There should not be a debate when children are dying.
Yeah,
Like that's no debate. And when
yeah,
children have to literally do shooting like fire drills pretty much, because there's a possibility that you could get shot up in school, and that is so heartbreaking. um but
yeah,
yeah, it's just it's so hard to talk about. But I agree with you 100% that adults, they have to, we have to address this, because obviously children aren't, they're not
yeah,
gonna do anything. They're children. Like, adults have to stick
yeah,
up at some point and say enough's enough. Or like you mentioned, it's going to be something that we grow accustomed to, which is not, it's not, that's not what should happen. But
yeah,
it's so hard, and as an American, it's so scary. It's so scary. And I pray and I fear for my sisters that are still in high school, still in school, that it's a possibility, but it's so scary.
yeah, yeah. The whole thing about America being number one, I do believe America's number one in many ways, but it almost seems like, and your podcast kind of majors in sports and stuff. It seemed I covered this in my last episode, but it seems like there's like a rapid rise in the Middle East because they also have money, and they have
Mm,
they have this ability to come in. Listen, if those guys could, they would just come in and buy entire countries, um
yeah.
they came into the golf and they just scooped up some of the best golf players and just took them away. They came to the Premier League. They bought Newcastle, Manchester City. Now they're buying my club, Man United. And you can just see this progression. And so at some point, I was saying America's number one, yes, but America's built in with like values and all these things. But these are the guys. There's no values there. It's just like how quick can we build it. They built an entire arena for a boxing match and then took it down the other day. That's kind of what they do. They build entire stuff to just take them down. And so imagine if that country gets like fully equipped with nuclear power. People keep talking about, oh, Russia,
Mm,
Russia, Russia. I'm always like, one of those countries will one day get those, and then now the problem will be, we'll have a whole different problem by itself. And so there's something noble about America being number one, which is like you always can count on them. There's so many things that happen international, but you can always count on them to be the one that stands in for somebody who's being, the weaker countries.
mm.
But it's one of those things where like when you see the number one kind of starting to get like this out of order, and like there's so much sadness and depression and whatever happening in there, coupled with this so much success, you're like, what the heck is happening, man? It
Yeah.
reminds me, I was reading the book the other day about empires and how they fell, and like the Roman Empire, when they started, they were like driven by work, driven by values, driven by being Romans. That was like a big deal. Being a Roman was like the highest thing you could ever imagine. And then they got really successful, they got really rich, and then it reached a point where they were so prosperous that they could not find anything else to like give them whatever, what do you call that, that chemical in the brain, um dopamine hit. So then they started like
Yeah. There you go.
interacting, they started interacting like different social situations, and then they came up with events and stuff, and so they became lazy, and at the height of the Roman power, the picture of luxury and violence was a Roman man sitting in a pool, with other Roman men chatting and like drinking wine. Like that was the peak of their power because they didn't need to work anymore. They were so prosperous, and then they would leave that place and then they would go and watch other men fight to the death just for fun. And in some ways that kind of relates to America right now because if you think about it, there was a period where America was just about building and building and building and building, coming up with the best technology, building up the Silicon Valley, taking rockets to the moon, all these things. And then once all that was done, now it's about I want to work from home. I want to order food. I want to have a dishwasher. I want to have a car that drives itself. So that's kind of the version of the man sitting in the pool. It's like I want to have everything done, and then they leave that place, and then the representative of the people fighting the pits is like all the violence you see. So it's like once a society reaches that much success, there's always a part of it where if you almost feel like there's so much luxury kicks in and then so much violence kicks in. And when one wins above the other, you're done. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just hope. There's still hope though. That's one thing about America, I know. There's still hope. So we'll see.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, we'll see. And it's so that is interesting that you brought up like the Romans because I mean you see a lot of similarities. Like obviously, the Colosseum, they had people fight to the death. Like we have boxing matches in UFC is so increasingly popular over here because we don't fight ourselves. We don't have anything to fight for. We're getting really lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just trying to consume as much as we can, whether that be on TikTok or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting weird. It's getting weird over here, and it could be. I know we're definitely going to be there for other countries if we need them to be, or if they need us to be. But at the same time, like how long are we going to be here? That's the question I have.
Yeah. 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 Um, Can you imagine if every single American was trusted with like the nuclear launch codes? I mean, the world would have, would have- somebody would just get angry over like something small. Oh my gosh! Like the world will be gone.
We
So yeah,
we would
that's
all be dead. All be dead.
oh for sure. Oh man, yeah. The the other day I was watching. Oh, this reminds me. When you talk about like athletes, like praising God and stuff, there's a boxer called Ryan Garcia. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for
Mm,
his fight. It's coming up in like a week. He he and Tyson Fury. Yeah, I think you know who Tyson Fury is. They're the two people who have seen
yep.
most consistently like talking about Jesus and stuff. It's so cool. I just love watching them
Yeah.
fight. Yeah, and even in the UFC, man, even here, it's huge. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you do sports, right? Who is your dream
Yep.
guest?
Dream guest. There's a couple of them. I really would love to have on Tim Tebow. He's always been such a
Ooh.
big inspiration for me. And then there was this NFL football coach, Tony Dungy. He's wrote a couple books. He's a big Christian. And he's a absolutely great coach. He took the Colts to a Super Bowl. And
Mm,
he is so outspoken in his faith, and he is just, I mean, I would love to talk with him and just pick his brain about so many
yeah,
things. I'd probably spend hours just talking his ear off.
that's awesome. Hey, Tim Tebow, man, if you're watching this, which I know you're probably not, hey, man, Ken needs you like right now. And then whoever that coach is, yo, just set a few hours. It's just a few hours, man. We need to make this happen. I do believe though, um, one day because we're making these jokes, it's almost like manifesting. But like when people make those TikTok videos where like they're like, "Oh, who's your dream guest?" and then they flip it over and you're sitting with Tim Tebow. I can see that happening. I can clearly
Yeah.
see that happening because at the rate you're going, man, it's gonna happen. So I can't wait for that to happen. Oh yeah, I was just I thought came to my mind. Did you watch that video of the Dalai Lama, that controversial video?
No, I don't. I think I've heard of it, or I think I heard about it. I don't think I watched it though.
Oh my gosh, I cringed so hard. I don't. I so it's him asking a kid to suck his tongue, right? I was like, oh no, they're joking. And then I watched the video, and then I went to the comments, right? And there's people defending him, and they're like, that's part of the culture. And I'm like, what culture could actually, I'm like, oh my goodness, every
Oh my
time, like,
goodness.
I'm like, who could ever do that? Listen, there's so much coming out right now, and I just feel like humanity needs to take a break, because you see these things happening every day, like on Twitter or like on Instagram, and you're like, I can't believe we actually live in this planet. Even Earth itself one day
Mm.
will get tired and be like, all right, I'm offloading these guys and just turn over and like spill us all over or something. Because listen, we are going crazy at this point. Like, I can't
we
believe
need we
that happened and it
we
was on
need another
camera.
ice age. We need another ice
Oh
age.
yeah, oh yeah. We need to be, yeah, for sure. Can you imagine if like if life was like a car and you could just be like, all right, man, I'm just gonna tune off for like a few minutes and then like wake up in like 20 something. I would like pick like however far everyone who lives now will be dead. I would like pick as far as that is because oh my gosh, like it's insane how like everything is just like, and like with Twitter and stuff, like you see the most outrageous things, and I always think, well, this thing's always happening, but we never captured them, or have people just become like people don't have anything to do, and like I'm like, what is it? The only things in the 90s that I can think of that were outrageous, like in sports, was like Mike Tyson biting that guy's ear. That was like crazy for
Yeah.
its time. That right now would have been like, whatever, he just bit his ear. But like,
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy. So
It's weird.
yeah,
It's so weird.
it right now. Are you guys So now football is out. Uh, Tennis. I don't think you watch tennis.
A little bit. I used to watch Serena Williams a lot. Keep up with her. Obviously, she
Mm.
retired. But I keep up with the men's a little bit.
Sad.
My college roommate was, yeah, I know. College roommate was a tennis player, so I kept up
Oh
with it a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
I remember him. Oh, nice. That's cool. Do you I saw you at the combine. How did you get there?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. So I work with this organization now that does we make all of the rules and make all of the awards and everything for high school athletics in the U.S. So literally every single high school,
Ooh.
and we decided
What?
like we
That's
should go to the
neat.
combine. We should yeah we should go to the combine and like ask these players about their high school experience because obviously all of them were in high school and they all had a good experience because they're going to the NFL. Um,
Hmm.
so we get there and we literally ask every single player, every single coach, like about their high school experience, about what fuels them to be the best that they could be. Like it was so packed, but it was so cool. It was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So it was so cool, and it's
That's
literally
awesome.
in Indianapolis where I live every single year. So I might go
Wow.
next year too. So it's so cool.
That's Maybe next time just walk out with like your card and be like, "Hey man, I do a podcast and like you'd be like you'd be honored to be on my podcast." And then you'd be like, "Oh yeah, all right, sign me up."
There's
I'm pretty
I met somebody. She's actually coming on my podcast because one of my coworkers knew that I do the podcast, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm a
Ooh.
Christian. I was actually a Olympian for 12 years. She went to like Southern California University for track and field. She was in the
Ooh.
Olympics for so long, and yeah, she's coming on the podcast. And I was
That
like,
is
"How
awesome.
did this happen? How did this happen?"
What? That is crazy. Yo, you've had like a meteorite. I don't know. Man, English sometimes, man. Meteoritic rise. I believe that's the word. I know. Listen, English
Mid-
is not my first language, so if you um, but like your rise has just been like, like you just it's like a rocket. I love watching that. That's so cool. Um, I have a friend that I believe, man, is going to be one of the best soccer players, and he is not like so aggressive. So it's been interesting, like trying to connect him with like scouts, in Europe and stuff. Um, because he's good, he's talented, he's like a genius while playing, but like off the field, he's not aggressive enough to create opportunities for himself. And
Mm.
so it's been interesting, man. It's been interesting trying to find scouts, and I'm documenting every single moment of it so that one day we might produce a documentary about him. Because if he makes it, man, oh, he's going to be great. But like to just make
Wow.
him to make him like be seen is almost impossible. And like like he can't even, because I was like, the easiest way for these coaches and scouts and all these people to see you is if you do like if you have like videos of yourself, but he can't even afford like a camera. So it's kind of, he lives on the other side
Yeah.
of the country. But I don't know why, but I have a feeling like one day he'll just get that one shot, and he's that good. He plays football or soccer. He's that good that I just think if he makes it, he's going to be really good. The only problem
Wow.
is he's a Man City fan. So sometimes when I'm trying to help, I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just stop all this. But but, but
Let's
yeah, he's
go.
yeah, he's hey, listen, right now the Premier League is like heating up, and um,
Yeah.
at least Man City. I'm for the first time I'm supporting Man City. I would give anything for Arsenal to lose, because I have friends who are Arsenal fans, and oh man, I cannot imagine a world
No,
where they win the Premier League. It will be unbearable.
no.
Um, and then Man U also got beat by Liverpool like 7-0. That was embarrassing,
Ooh.
man. That was embarrassing. So yeah, it's been a it's been a good time. I was speaking to my therapist the other day, and he doesn't know anything about soccer, right? So I was just telling him about like, oh, I support Man U, and I was hyping it up big time. I was like, yo, listen, this is what's happening, blah 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 blah. And then one day he was like, how's Man U doing? I was like, we were beaten 7-0, and even he has never watched soccer, and he was like, that sounds really bad. I was like, I know, so yeah, that's kind of where we are, man. But yeah. So what's like your like why are you looking, because now you're working and doing the podcast.
Yep. Yep. That's pretty much my entire life.
That's like the best. That's the best combo, man. That's awesome. What do you think, like how do you see this thing going, or are you just like just doing it as it goes?
To be honest, I'm just doing as it goes. I have like, I've had people ask me that before, and I'm like, I honestly don't know. I started this out of my college dorm. Like, I didn't expect it to go this
Mm,
far. Um, so yeah, I'm just kind of rolling with the punches right now. I'm just really, really enjoying it though. It's been so cool,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll lead to a job in the future, or make some cash from it. But right now, I'm just loving it.
yeah,
I'm absolutely
yeah,
loving it.
yeah. That's awesome. Do you think you ever do like a YouTube?
I I have a YouTube. I just post like clips on it though. I've actually
Okay,
thought about
okay.
uploading full podcasts on there.
Mm,
But yeah, if you have any tips about that, I would actually really like that because it's really, I know
yeah.
it's gonna really be useful in the future too.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I was talking to someone the other day, and like I think I have like 200 and something subscribers, which I've done a really bad job of like pushing that. But my plan right now is to create as much content as possible, and then at some point I'm just gonna start like, like turning the wheels. But I've learned so much about like getting attention, like people's attention from YouTube, which I don't think I would have ever done elsewhere. And yeah, I think like if you need help, man, um, you I can connect you. Also, Fireside, right?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Yeah, so they now gave me an opportunity to like give people, I think, two people shows. So if you wanna try, I could hook you up with Fireside, and you can like kind of have a feel of like what it is, and start your own show on there. Um, so
I signed up for it because I remember you talking about it. I think the last time we were talking.
mhm,
And I like got on it. And I was like, this is really intimidating. Like I don't know what to do. But yeah, I think
yeah,
having, something with you, that would probably be a good ease into it. So that'd be a good
for
idea.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've not been. So the only issue I had with them was the timing wasn't right for some time, and then they were doing a lot of NFTs, and then NFTs kind of fell. So now they're kind of coming up with a better monetization system. So they have so they only have, I think right now they have like 500 creators, and then have like thousands of like audience, right? So like for me,
Mm.
my account has grown to like 8,000 followers, and I've not even done anything on it. So every time I tune in, I get like 100 people watching, and that's like I tune in like once a month. But they're kind of structuring a great monetization system. So so now if you're a creator, it's an invite only. So anyone else can just watch stuff, but if you want to create, you have to have a specific, like, it's called an invite link. Um, so if you
Hmm.
want, I could create like a show sometime. We can kind of like start like a week or 2 weeks before and just announce it to people, let them know, and then you can kind of know who's gonna show up to the show because they RSVP. So you have like a list of people who are gonna show up. And so you know we'll have an idea of how many people are gonna be there, and then I can kind of show you around what that looks like, and then if you feel like that's something you want to do, because I do feel like it's one of those things like it's very unique, right? But once you, because it has like
Yeah.
laugh
Yeah.
tracks, and it has like reactions. So once you kind of get an idea of it, it's pretty cool. Because I see podcasts who they have a person who's sitting there and like doing the laugh tracks and stuff, but Fireside have has them built in. And so yeah, if you want to do that, just let me know. But yeah, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
for like your like for your podcast and like what you do, is there like what was your favorite guest?
Favorite guest. Somebody's asked me this actually recently, and I think I might give the same answer that I gave them. Um, they're all like kind of my children. In a weird,
Mm,
very weird way. Like I can't pick one.
I
It's
know what you're
so
talking
strange
about.
to me, but like
Yeah.
I can remember every single guest that I have on, like literally off the top of my head, because like I don't know, even though it's
Mm-hmm.
like 60
Mm-hmm.
plus, it still feels like it was yesterday that I recorded with them. Um,
Yeah.
so I would say it's definitely hard to choose because there's been so many great people that have come on and given their
Yeah.
time. So you're definitely up there. I think you are definitely up there.
Come on, let's go. That's what I wanted. No, but like seriously, people talk about podcasts and um how, because here's another thing. Like I don't know who I was talking about. Like I don't know who I was talking to about this. You can tell my brain is not working because it's like 4 a.m. But um I saw somewhere somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I told somebody that I have a podcast." And they're like, "Oh, everyone has a podcast these days," and I was like, "You know what? No, that's not true. Everyone might have think of like might have thought about having a podcast, but that doesn't mean it's gonna work, And you've done it for
Mm,
like 2 years. I've done it for like 2 years, and you kind of know at this point, what like it looks like to be like, oh, where like those listeners just aren't coming and all, and then there's times when there's like booming and you're like, oh, this works. I remember there's a time I had like 10 listeners, man, and I was celebrating it. Some people
yeah.
come in and then they think like, I'm gonna post my first episode and gonna get 1,000 overnight. It doesn't work that way. And so like I do understand like when it's your passion and you do it and you love it. I know how every episode, I kind of almost know everything I said in every episode, which is crazy, and I can name them off the top of my head. And I always say I will know when I'm no longer feeling it if I don't remember the episodes I do, because I don't think that's ever going to happen. I just think it's one of those
Mm,
things that I think about it every single day, and I don't know
yeah.
where it's going to go. It might never be like the best. It's almost like music. I do believe that some of the best musicians, nobody knows about them, but like there's some really great musicians out
Mm,
there. I think that's kind of like podcasting. You might actually in some weird way be considered by somebody like the best podcaster of all time, and it's just because of like how you resonate with them. So I think podcasting, people say, oh,
mm,
people just studying that because they just want to chill, but I do think if you take it seriously, most of these people who are studying it now, they'll fall off. This is it's not it's right now it's like a
yeah.
fad, yes, for now, but like most of them will fall off, and then the people who actually do it will will be here. So I do I cannot wait, like, because now it's 2 years. It's kind of crazy how fast time goes, but I'm very soon be like 5 years, and then you'll be like, I've been doing this thing for 5 years. Oh, it's 10 years. I've been doing podcasting for 10 years,
It's crazy.
So yeah, I just I can't wait to see what that looks like. But yeah,
Y-
my laptop is like, I told you, it's like having a black screen of death or whatever they call it. So it's just shutting off by itself
uh,
now. Like I don't even know what's wrong with it. But yeah, we were almost wrapping up. One last question I have for you, and this is just I was talking to, I don't know who, I think Cassie maybe, and I was thinking, have you ever gone? Have you? What's the like? What cities or countries have you visited outside the U.S.?
Okay. So I've been to Mexico a couple times. I went to Jamaica twice, which was
Ooh,
really cool. Got to go. We went like ziplining through the Jamaican jungle. That was really cool. Very terrifying, but that was so cool.
yeah,
Been to a couple of like the Caribbean islands and stuff like that down there. Um, I I think that's it. Actually, I haven't really left the Western Hemisphere.
yeah, man. I think. Do you think you could ever come to Kenya?
I would absolutely love that. I would
Oh,
like
okay. I
without a
think
doubt, 100%. If I had the opportunity, I would go.
I think maybe like in the next 2 years we should just plan, and you could come over and we could just go to the coast, and we could go for like a safari. We could like visit like whatever, like there's so many landscapes and like cultures we could see, and then we could like record a podcast like at the coast or something. And you guys could,
Yes.
I don't know, there's so much you guys could do. But I was thinking about that because today we were driving down the road, and like by the side of the road there was like giraffes, and we always see them every time. I was like, man, I wish people could actually see this. So yeah, I now my main goal is to like convince people to come visit. The best time to come visit like in August. So yeah, I mean, like, you guys are so welcome. I just wish there was like a way people could easily
Oh
come
my
this way. It would
gosh.
be so fun. Kenya, you would love it. I
Yeah.
bet like you would love it so much. And you could listen. There's kids here that would like love to learn about like baseball for sure. Cause people who always ask me about baseball, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you, man. But you could teach them that. That would be fun. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Hopefully at some point, you can you and Lulu and maybe Cassie could like fly this way, and we could find a way to have you guys over. That would be awesome. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, now that's
Yes.
kind of my
And,
plan
and
right
and
now.
the yeah, the church we actually just joined, we have like they do vision trips. So like
Ooh.
you go to a country and you like so you see the mission work they
Hmm.
do around specific countries. I don't know if Kenya's involved, but that would be awesome if that
That would be
was
pretty
an
cool. That
option
would be
because that would
awesome.
be so cool.
Yeah, it was funny because Cassie was one day showing me a picture of this pastor, that they kind of work with, and it's funny because that pastor, the church he preaches at, is like 20 meters away from the house I was from pretty much from where I was born. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. And Cassie was like, no, you don't. I was like, yeah, I do.
Wow.
So I was like, I live like right behind this church because every night, because he would like, they would have like
Wow.
choir rehearsals, and I was like, this guy is so loud. I know who that guy is. He's the guy that tormented my childhood because of his music. But yeah, it's always funny how small the world is. But but yeah, you guys should definitely
It is.
come and visit
Yeah.
us. That would be fun.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Hey, Fabish, before we get off, what do you think? What do you think about Lionel Messi getting $400 million a year?
from where?
You didn't hear?
No.
Oh my gosh! So obviously, you know that Ronaldo went to the Saudi Arabian League, or wherever that was over there. The same league offered
Uh huh.
Messi like over $400 million for 1 year, for 1 year of playing with them. And he's making that decision like I don't know within this year.
Listen, I. Oh my gosh, that is insane. Can you imagine? That's what I was telling you. These people don't care about like morals or whatever. They want to
No.
get the best, shiniest thing, and they will. Listen, good for Messi, I guess. I mean, like 400 million for a year. I mean, people thought Ronaldo's
I
200 million for 2 seasons was crazy. 400 million for a year? That is insane. Wow. And I mean, like, he might not even like play 4 or 5 games. He might just show up and can you just imagine? Like, think about that from $400 million a year. That's like how many billion Kenyan shillings? That's crazy. Wow,
It's insane.
man.
It's
Listen,
so
at this
insane.
point, I concede that he's the goat. I think like after him winning the World Cup, there's nothing I could do, man. Like I love Ronaldo so much, but like well, after Messi won the World Cup, like I was like, at this point, arguing is kind of I could argue over and over, but like Messi winning the World Cup, it was one of those things. I was like, oh my gosh, it's done, it's done. There's no coming back. And now he's getting 400 million. That's like double what Ronaldo got. He's the goat. He's the goat. And I know this is gonna come back to hurt me, but I mean, 400 million? Who? I was asking, what do you think? What was Patrick Mahomes' contract? It was like 500 and something $1 million for like how many years?
I think it was close to 10. I want to say maybe over 10. But yeah, his was insane. I can't even imagine that amount of money.
So, so Messi gets close to what Mahomes got, but for a year.
Yeah.
That's I mean, oh my gosh, that just puts things into perspective of how crazy that is. Man,
It's
maybe we should just quit
so
podcasting and
wild.
start playing soccer.
Yeah, maybe they'll pay us.
I know. I mean, or we can build a very successful podcast, and the Saudis will be like, "Hey, we want you guys to come and host your podcast in Saudi Arabia for like a month." They'll be like, "All right, how much? Like 600 million." Like, let's go. So, whichever venue, these guys are gonna buy the world. So, whichever venue you're working on, let's just keep on working on there, and then it will work out. But oh my gosh,
I
yeah,
don't know if you can see this.
yeah, I can see that.
You can $440 million
Yeah.
a year.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's like generational wealth for a year.
I know.
It pays to be talented,
That's
man.
That's like 12 generations.
I mean, listen, if whoever is paying this guy, King Salman or King Mohammed bin Salman, I know you're not like the greatest guy, but if you are listening right now, we have a podcast. We could like do like we could do like a weekly episode, and we could just like talk about whatever you want us to talk about. And then we could sign the thing. We don't have to come to Saudi Arabia. Like, we'll just give you the content, but you would own it. And then we can talk about the contract. Maybe like 100, that would work. but yeah, hey, hit us up, man. Hit us up.
If he paid me 100,
us, so...
if he can pay us $100, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, like, come on, we got something, huh? Yeah. Oh man, the CIA will be knocking on your door the next day. Again, we need to stop. Yeah, that would be. They'll be like, so, who's this guy, Fabish? Who's this guy? How did you meet him? We did everything. They'll be like, I don't know, but yeah, that would be insane. But can you imagine how they'll be like, Ken, the guy who sold this podcast to the Saudis, that you would just instantly be like, everywhere you walk, people would know that. But that's crazy, man. That's so crazy. Ken, listen, man, this has been a great episode. I've enjoyed having you on, man. I feel like we should just like do like the fireside thing where we like do like a monthly thing, because I think it would like be really fun. I just love having you on, man. Keep doing what you're doing. People who are watching my YouTube, right? If you are new here, just go check his podcast. He's not like, because when people hear the word Christian, they're like, oh, Christian, we're going to preach for. No. The thing he does, the way I see it is like he just easily incorporates his ideas and values into into what he has, and then he has guests who will kind of like back him up on what he thinks, and like they kind of challenge each other, and if you are serious about like growing, and if you like, even if you don't do sports, life in itself is like a sport. Um, you can always, like gain something. So yeah, if I've spammed your Reddit account with this video and you've banned me, before you ban me, just go check out his podcast. That's all I'm asking. But yeah, I wish you all the best, man. I think you're destined for a lot of greatness, and yeah, I hope to have you soon, to have you on the podcast another time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will, I'm always honored to come on. And I do not condone any spamming on Reddit, but if Fabish, if he promotes the podcast, whatever, by all means, I think so. But thank you again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, those Reddit people, man. I don't see the thing about Reddit. Before I just go, the thing about Reddit, I love Reddit. It's like my Twitter, right? You The thing is, I'm not normally like spamming. I try to find an angle where the discussion makes sense with the topic, right? But you'll find these moderators who just have nothing to do. They're the ones that kind of like, oh, your video was taken out. I'm like, what do you mean it was removed? I'm like, it's an educational stuff. And so then I'm like, okay, like let's say like the sports thing we talked about Messi, right? If I go to Reddit Messi's account and I post that, they'll say I'm spamming. I'm like, you have not even watched the video and understood what it is. But anyway, I'll find other ways. But yeah, spamming is not allowed unless it's for like some great reason. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, go check his podcast. The link is in. I'm gonna put it down on YouTube. And I really hope we recorded everything because it would be so it would be so awful if we go off and we only find like a small bit. But I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, thank you, man.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Fabish.